My name is Martina, and I'm the moderator of this webinar on behalf of Prep Advisor. Our speaker today is Sara Strafino. She is a Senior Market Development Manager for Graduate Management Admission Council. Sara helps institutions to understand graduate management education trends and use GMAC resources to achieve their student recruitment and admissions goals. She also engages with prospective candidates to raise awareness of the benefits of graduate management education and the GMAT exam. Due to the impact of COVID-19 on test centers location around the world, the Graduate Management Admission Council are offering a GMAT Online alternative exam to test takers. And today, Sara will give you the details about the online exam. Please type your questions in the Q&A box during the entire webinar, and Sara will take her time to give you an answer at the end of the webinar. Okay, let's check the sound first. Could you please write in the chat box which country are you joining us from? Okay, everything is set. So Sara, we can start with the presentation now.
Hi, Martina. Thank you so much. Thank you, Prep Advisor, for giving us the opportunity to speak today about the GMAT Online. Everyone, just for you to know, I'm connecting from London. I'm working from home, like many of us in recent times. So I've tried to minimize the disruption as much as possible, but things can happen. I will also try to leave on my camera for the duration of the webinar, but if I see that the connection starts becoming unstable, I may need to switch it off. So as Martina said, I'm at GMAC, and I work with both schools and the candidates. We try to create opportunities for the schools and the candidates to connect each other. And one of these opportunities is the GMAT exam. Due to the COVID-19 situation, as Martina said earlier, the GMAT exam provision has been disrupted. And so we have created the GMAT Online to give candidates the opportunity to continue with their plans to apply for business school. So let's have a look at today's agenda. I will share some details about the GMAT Online, in particular the exam structure and how it works. Since it's a different delivery experience, we will talk about the test taking experience from the point in which you start registering for the exam all the way through to when you send your scores to the schools and the programs you're interested in. One of the things that is very different in the online GMAT compared to the test center is the security. So I want to share with you today some details about the security protocols of the exam. Then we will also address some of the commonly asked questions that we have received. And as Martina said, we will take some of your questions at the end. We will try to cover as much as possible during the session. If we can't cover all the questions that have been asked, don't worry, I will follow up with Martina and we will send the answers in the email communications. But please do ask your questions as you think of them in the question and answer box. So the GMAT Online, what it is. We know, as I said, that the COVID-19 has caused a disruption on the test center delivering of the exam. So to help you as much as possible as you start your journey towards the educational experience that you will have at business school, we have designed a GMAT Online. This is a remote proctored online exam and was designed as an interim solution to help you through the COVID-19 crisis. Initially, we said that the GMAT Online would be available through 15th of June, but we continue to assess the situation as the COVID-19 crisis evolves. So the the GMAT Online exam will be available till the disruption continues, and right now it's been extended into July. The GMAT Online has the same exam structure of the GMAT, it's just delivered differently. It's the same exam in terms of the underlying skills that it assesses. The core purpose of the GMAT has always been to evaluate your readiness for rigorous business schools programs. It's also there for you to showcase the best of yourself through the score that you achieve. It's also, I always say to the students, a sign of commitment that you are serious and that you have what it takes to succeed in a rigorous graduate management programs. The underlying skills, the critical reasoning skills that we assess in the GMAT Online are the same that we assess in the GMAT test centers. It has the same content, the same structure, and the same type of questions. It also uses the same scoring methodology and algorithm, and therefore it produces the same score scales. When we developed the GMAT Online, we wanted to keep intact the trust, integrity, credibility, and the information that the GMAT provides to schools and candidates. However, it's a different delivery model. It's online, and therefore the test taking experience all the way from when you check in to how the exam is initiated and then delivered are different from what you would do at the test center. We have remote human proctors, and we have video recording happening all the time. You are not taking the exam in a highly standardized test center environment, which is what you would see at our test centers. You take the exam most likely in the comfort of your home at a date, at time that suits you. Since we have designed this as an interim solution, there are also some differences in the way the scores are made available to you and then to the schools and programs that you choose. But the core principle here is that when we developed the GMAT exam, we wanted to keep the same integrity and the trust of the GMAT, which has made the GMAT the most widely used assessment by business schools worldwide. So let's have a look at the exam in a little bit more detail. I said earlier, in terms of the structure, we have the same content and the construct as the GMAT that you take at the test center. One difference is that the GMAT Online doesn't have the analytical writing assessment section, which is where you see a question and you answer by writing an essay. So the GMAT Online doesn't have that section, but it does have the quantitative, verbal, and integrated reasoning sections. These sections have the same type and the same number of questions, and they give you the same time to answer those questions. At this point, we will see it in another slide, the section order in the GMAT Online is fixed. So for what concerns the score, the underlying test construct and the test questions are the same. So we use the same scoring algorithm and the same methodology for the scores. And therefore you get the scores in the same score scale for each of the section of the GMAT Online, as well as for the total score. You also have score percentiles that are calculated in exactly the same manner as in the GMAT taken at test centers. This ensures that the GMAT online scores are comparable to the scores that you obtain from a GMAT at test centers, and they have the same reliability. The validity of the GMAT online scores is also the same as the GMAT that you take at the test centers, is 5 years. Regarding the experience and the policies of taking the exam, it's, I said earlier, it's a different delivery model, it's online, and therefore there are some differences compared to the exam that you would take at a test center. It's a shorter exam. It has a break, but it's just one compared to 2 breaks in the GMAT at test centers, and it's a shorter one, it's 5 minutes. In terms of doing scratch work, the integrated reasoning section of the exam continues to have the online calculator exactly in the same way as you would experience in the test center. But for the quantitative reasoning and the verbal reasoning part, we have an inbuilt online whiteboard that test takers can use to do their scratch work, to take notes or to make calculations. And I will share some more details and some tips on the online whiteboard in a few slides during this presentation. Since the GMAT Online was devised as a temporary solution, we are limiting at this point the appointments to one only. So you can take the GMAT only once, and there are the GMAT Online, sorry, only once, but there are some exceptions to this, and we will go through some of these exceptions later. It's an online remote proctored exams, and we deliver it through our partner Pearson VUE OnView system. So you take the exam on a laptop or computer that runs on a Windows or a Mac OS operating system. There will be a human proctor that checks you in and then start your exam and proctors your exam sessions throughout. We wanted to make sure that we create a fair and equal access to all test takers. So we've also made the accommodations available for people with disabilities, and they are in the form of 50% and 100% extra time and an extended break for the GMAT Online. So let's have a look at the exam structure for the GMAT Online. And in this slide, I will also compare the GMAT Online to the GMAT at test centers, because as the COVID-19 situation evolves, we are reopening some of our test centers around the world in line with government guidelines. So, you may also find yourself in the situation where, you can choose between the GMAT Online and the GMAT delivered at test center. So let's have a look at the GMAT Online first. We expect the exam session to start around 3 hours from the point you check in, and this is usually an hour shorter than the time that you would spend when you take the GMAT exam at a test center. You start with the check-in process that typically takes around 10-15 minutes. It's always our endeavor to ensure that the check-in process is as smooth and as efficient as possible. However, I want to be honest and transparent here, because there has been so much load on our system. Sometimes it happens that the check-in process may last a little bit longer. This is the same as, when you connect or try to connect to a call center and there is a lot of traffic, you may experience a more delayed wait, a longer wait. This could happen for the check-in process for the GMAT Online. One of the other reasons why it could take longer is because we need to go through certain security protocols, and there is no way for us to speed some of these processes. So I hope that you won't incur in any delay But if it does, please, bear with us, be understanding also of the situation in which we are all in. Once we do the check-in, you start with the quantitative reasoning section that has 31 questions, and you are expected to answer in 62 minutes of time. Then you move to the verbal reasoning section, in which you have 36 questions, and you have 65 minutes of time. After the verbal reasoning section, you have an optional 5-minute break. And then you will move to the integrated reasoning part, which has 12 questions, and you have half an hour of time to do that. So quants and verbal are on a scale between 6 and 51. And the integrated reasoning, the score scales is between 1 and 8. And then the total score is between 200 and 800. In terms of scores and in terms of number of questions and times that you have for each of these parts, they are exactly the same as in the GMAT that you take at the test centers. I put here just a graph so you can compare. As I said earlier, in the test centers, you have the analytical writing part, which is not included in the GMAT Online. You also have slightly longer breaks in between the parts. For the GMAT Online, there is only one format, and is the one that I'm showing at the top of this slide. For the GMAT at test centers, you have the choice between among 3 different formats. So you can choose this section order, starting with the analytical writing, then integrated reasoning, quantitative, and verbal reasoning, or you can choose one of these other 2 alternatives way of and sections orders of the exam. So you would start with either the verbal and or quantitative parts, and then after verbal quantitative, you would move to integrated reasoning and analytical writing. As I said earlier, I'm showing you the comparison because for some of you, there might be, the opportunity to choose between the GMAT Online and the GMAT delivered at test centers. So let's go back to the GMAT Online to look at some of the things that you need to know. The cost of the exam is $200. You register for the exam through your account on mba.com, and the registration point is the same as what happens for the on GMAT at test centers. One of the advantages of the GMAT Online and the online delivery model is that you have the flexibility of doing the test when and how it suits you. Appointments are available in 15 minutes interval, 24 out of 24 and 7 out of 7 days. So you can choose a date and time that works for you, and you have more choices than what you would have for the GMAT at test centers. The scores from the GMAT Online, as I said earlier, are valid for 5 years. And at this point, we are not charging you anything for sending the GMAT scores to as many schools and programs as you like. You receive your scores and then you can decide which programs and schools you'd like to send it to. So the registration for the GMAT Online goes via the MBA.com website. So you create an account on mba.com. If you haven't already done it, I invite you to to access the information on mba.com. It's not just the GMAT, it's a lot of information on how to apply, how to choose the right programs for you. So once you are ready to register for the exam, you will go in the mba.com. In the My Account page, you will see a specific section for the online GMAT. This is also where you will come back once you have registered and once you need to do the exam. From here, you will be taken to the Pearson VUE site, where you will be able to choose the date and time of your appointment if you are registering, or if you have already registered, you will come here, as I said, to start the online delivery of the GMAT. So there are a few things that I'd like you to know, and I'd like you to pay attention to. So you have registered for the exam. You want to ensure that the process on the day is as smooth as possible. We encourage you that before the exam, you review the system and ID requirements that you can find on mba.com. The ID requirements are mostly the same as what you would need for a test center exam. So most people will show a valid passport, but for the online delivery of the exam, there are specific hardware and the software requirements that you need to meet. There is a link that allows you to run a system test to ensure that the laptop or computer that you are using for the exam meets the minimum technical requirements, both in terms of software and hardware. You will go through a demo check to ensure that your webcam, the audio, and everything on your machines are fine. There are no pop-ups that would interfere with the exam, etc. There is also a piece of Pearson VUE software that you need to install, and that will be used during the check-in process and then during the exam. Ensure that you are clear about all these requirements, and that you do the system test before the exam day, because you want to avoid arriving at exam day and finding some surprises in terms of things that don't work well on your machine. Test a day and what to expect for the check-in. When you start the exam delivery, you will be taken from mba.com to the Pearson VUE systems. They will do a final system check and confirm that you have the appropriate hardware and software, that the webcam and the audio are working, etc. Then you will be asked to upload a digital picture of yourself, a picture of the ID document, and a picture of your workspace. The picture of the workspace will be used to ensure that you are taking the exam in an environment that complies with our security requirements. Once the pictures have been uploaded, you will be interacted with a proctor that completes the check-in process. The proctor ensures that the person they see in front of the camera is the same one in the pictures that were uploaded. They go through the security checks. They review the entire desk and the workspace. You will be asked to show the entire room in which you are, to ensure that no one else is in that room, and then that there isn't anything on your desk. You don't have any paper, a pencil, or anything that is not allowed and considered a security risk for the exam. There is a 360-degree scan of the work area, and once this has happened, the proctor asks you that you don't have any applications running in the background. You need to close everything, because this is not just for a security point of view, but also to ensure that nothing interferes with the exam delivery. Once all these have been completed, the proctor will start your exam. And once the exam is launched, you will be asked to keep the camera and your live video feed on. The proctor monitors you through the webcam feed, and the entire session of the exam is recorded, because then later on is reviewed by our operation and security team. If at any point you need to communicate with the proctor, because you have any issues or question, you can click on the live chat button. It's at the top of the read-on of the exam engine. And this will open a chat window so you can communicate with the proctor, or you can just wave your hand to attract the proctor attention, and then the proctor will initiate an audio connection with you. Just to be clear, the proctor is not able to see what's on your screen, so they're not able to see what questions you are getting and nothing like that. This is for a security point of view. And the exam delivery and the communication with the proctor happen in English. So I mentioned earlier, and there has been a lot of talk about the online whiteboard. This is the tool that we give you for the quantitative and verbal reasoning part of the exam, to do your scratch work, to make notes, and to do your calculation. This is like an endless canvas where you can go to do your scratch work, as I said, and you can move it around the screen so it doesn't obstruct the questions. So you can use a few tools. So there is the pan tool that reveal a different part of the whiteboard, and you can work on, and you can drag back to reveal previous work, so you don't have to erase anything. There is a text box tool that you can use to make your notes. There is the shape and line tool that you can also use. So there is a online whiteboard available through mba.com to start familiarizing and practicing it. I realized that this is very different. It's not a physical scratch paper, so you need to do some practice. And this tool is there for you on mba.com. I have included the link on this slide, so ensure that you spend some time to familiarize with it. During the exam, you can only use mouse and or a trackpad. There are no other external devices admitted, so no touch screens, stylus, or any other devices on any type. This is to ensure that all the candidates taking the GMAT take it from exactly the same situation. They are not, that nobody is disadvantaged in taking the GMAT because of not having a particular tool. I thought to share some tips on how you may want to approach the online whiteboard. So it's better to start practicing with the online whiteboard once you have familiarized yourself a bit with the GMAT questions, and you can use the GMAT prep tools and resources that we offer, to start familiarizing with the questions. In the very initial stages of your preparation, you may want just to start using and handling the online whiteboard just to get a little bit more familiar with the tool. Then start slowly and gradually increase each day the time that you spend on the online whiteboard as you approach exam day. Then before the exam, you may want to try some of our GMAT official practice exams using the online whiteboard. So we offer 2 full-length exams for free. They are included in a GMAT prep package that you can freely download from our website. And then you can purchase others if you want to increase your preparation. The online whiteboard will soon be included in the official practice exams, so you can practice those mock exams as you would do in the real GMAT online exams. When we developed the GMAT Online, one of our key motivators was to ensure that the schools and the candidates are receiving a fair and secure exam experience. And this is been absolutely crucial when we developed the GMAT Online. Because it was also one of our key points of attention for the GMAT itself. So obviously in the GMAT Online, we have a different delivery model, a different technology, and a different processes. You are not in a highly standardized test environment like the ones of the test centers, where we have control on software, hardware, we have control on the room, etc. When we developed the GMAT Online, we had to take into account different variables, because people take the exam in different locations around the world, and we don't have control over those environments. And that's why the processes are different from what you would experience when you take the exam at a test center. So there is a robust ID verification process through the pictures and the photo of your ID document that you upload. And then there is a live proctor that is there with you throughout the session, and reviews all the documents, reviews the work space and the environment you are in. You will be asked to show even the back of your laptop, to show the desktop on which you are working, to show all the four corners of the room in which you are taking the exam. You take the exam in a lockdown browser, and the proctor, as I said, continues to watch and monitor you throughout the entire time of the session. The session is also recorded, and that recording will be reviewed by the operations and security team. After the exam, there is a forensics examination of the exam to ensure that there are no abnormalities, irregularities of any type in the video session and in the exam. And throughout this process, we leverage artificial intelligence technology. There are things such as watching for gazing technologies that are in place to ensure that there are no other people in the room where you are doing the in the exam itself. Let's have a look at the scores. You know what happens with the scores once you have done your exam. The scores will be shared with you within 7 business days from the exam. So you will review your score, and you will decide which schools and programs you want to receive them. And as I said earlier, we don't charge anything to send the scores to the schools. You would have to pay for additional scores that you send after your GMAT exam at test center. For the GMAT Online, as I said, that there is no cost to send your scores at any point to business schools and programs of your choice. Once you've made your choice of which programs and schools you want to receive your scores, they will receive those scores within 24 hours of being requested, and they access the score directly from our system, so you don't need to physically send anything to them. As I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, we want to ensure that we create a fair and equal access for test takers. So for the GMAT Online, we also provide accommodations for test takers with disabilities, and the accommodations are in the form of 50 and 100% extended times for the exam, and also an extended break, 10 minutes instead of 5. In terms of the process for the accommodation, it's the same application that you would submit for the test center-based exam, and once the accommodations are approved, they are approved at candidate level, not test level, and they are valid for 2 years. I just thought to summarize for you some of the differences between the GMAT and the GMAT Online and GMAT Test Center. So the cost, the GMAT Online is $200. For the GMAT Test Center, the cost depends on the location where you take the exam, the location where you take it so there is here a slight mistake. So you take the GMAT Online in your house. And I really apologize because I've swapped the two columns to the other side. So I will send the right slide to Martina so she can share with you in the follow-up. So for the GMAT online, you have one set way of taking the exam. For the GMAT test centers, you can choose three available formats. Then the GMAT online is slightly shorter than the GMAT at test center. And the scores in both cases are valid for 5 years. You can take the GMAT online only once, and there are a few cases where we allow you to retake the GMAT online, and we will go through that in a few slides. You can take the GMAT at test center up to 5 times in any given 12-month period. And the different attempts at the GMAT online and GMAT test center don't count for each other. So you could take the GMAT online next week, for example, and if you decided, you could take the GMAT in a test center the following day. In terms of preparation, the same preparation that you would do for the GMAT test center would be absolutely valid for the GMAT online. They are the same exam, so you can use the same resources. We produce official resources that utilize questions that were at some point in the exam. One of the questions that we get about the GMAT is about preparation, how much time you will need to prepare for the GMAT. This would depend on a number of elements, a number of factors. But we have some surveys that ask test takers how much time they spent in terms of hours to achieve a certain scores, and you can see that for scores in the 700, typically the test takers that we surveyed said that they studied around 90 hours. Obviously, these surveys are to be taken as a reference point, but it's also your background, your familiarity with this type of test that will also determine, how much time you realistically need to achieve one score or the other. Some of the common questions that we've received about the GMAT online. So if test centers are open in your location, what should you do? Well, I would say just do what you feel comfortable with. If the test center is open in your location and you want to take the GMAT at a test center, feel free to do that. The GMAT online is open to anyone. We don't place any limitations besides of those locations in which the GMAT online is not available, and they are mainland China, Iran, Sudan, North Korea, and Slovenia. But you can decide whether you want to take the GMAT online, or you want to take the GMAT test centers. And as I said, you know, they don't count towards each other. So you can take GMAT online and then following they take the GMAT at test center. We are also offering maximum flexibility in the sense that if you've booked a GMAT online and then you decide you want to test at a test center, you can get your money back and then book your appointment at a test center and vice versa. There is no direct switch at the moment, but as I said, you will be able to get your refund and then you will be able to book your appointment with the GMAT online or GMAT at test centers. The other questions that we mentioned earlier, you can take exam on Windows operating systems. You need to have reliable internet connection and the webcam and the audio connection. You also need to take materials or device, which is nothing at all. And we strongly encourage you to do the system to ensure your scratch work. We've seen earlier the online hello. Can you still
Hey,
hear
Sarah.
me? Yeah, I think I think
We
I
lost you
you.
for a couple of seconds. You can
Yeah,
reshare your presentation.
yeah, I will reshare the presentation. Just okay. I hope. So, did you see, Martina? Can you confirm that you heard the explanation on these previous slides on appointment management?
Yes, but not all of
Fantastic.
the information. Maybe you can
I will summarize it again.
yes,
Yeah, I
just to
will summarize
summarize
again.
with a couple of sentences. Yes.
Yeah, so I was saying that we are allowing maximum flexibility at this time to switch between GMAT online and GMAT at test center. So there is no direct switch as such, but if you booked a GMAT online or a GMAT appointment at a test center, you can cancel, get your refund, and then book you know, an appointment with the GMAT at test center or GMAT online, depending on which one you want to switch. System and the workspace requirement for the GMAT online. You need a laptop or computer that run on Mac or Windows OS. You need a reliable internet connection, webcam, audio connection, and you need to take the exam on a clean workspace that needs to be no materials of any type, smartwatches, dual monitors, external devices connected to the computer, and nothing at all. As I said earlier, please ensure that you do the system check because you don't want to discover unpleasant surprises just on the day of the exam when you can't do much about that. You will use the online whiteboard to do your scratch work. Nothing else is allowed, and you can practice on the online whiteboard made available to you through mba.com. And very soon, a version of that whiteboard will be integrated in the official GMAT prep. The scores, so the scores for the GMAT online are absolutely comparable to the GMAT taken at test centers because we use the same scoring methodology and the same scale. You can send your score to as many programs and schools as you like without any additional charge. One of the common questions that we receive is what happens if there is a problem with the exam. So when there is a problem, you are able to attract the attention of the proctor using the chat function, or simply waving your hand so the proctor can activate the audio connection. If there is a problem right at the beginning of the exam, the proctor will do everything possible to try to help you and restart or start the exam. If that wasn't possible because there is a technical failure on your machine, or there is a system failure, then in that case, the proctor will notify the disruption to us, and you will be able to rebook for the exam at no additional cost, obviously. If the section cannot be repristinated, so that's a reason for which we would allow to retest for the exam. This is the end of my presentation, and Martina, as I said, I will send you the slides and rectify the confusion between GMAT Online and GMAT Test Center, which I had simply switched. And now please feel free to share the questions that have come from the audience in the meantime.
Thank you, Sarah, for sharing this important information with us. Your presentation was really informative. And now it's